Hi again everybody, welcome to another day of Cavemas. I am feeling more and more festive as the days go on. By the time you see this it will be after Christmas, but it of course is not the end of Cavemas. Today we have a giveaway which I will be talking about at the end of the video, so please stay tuned till then if you're interested in entering. And today we're going to take a sort of half mosey into something we've done before but just with a twist. For those of you unfamiliar with Colouring Heaven magazine, it is a monthly colouring magazine that is available in the UK in our supermarkets and our news agents as well, and they have different artists, and these are well-known artists, and create a themed colourable magazine every month. I love these magazines because there's so much variety in them, and the quality of the paper within them is very, very good as well, and it means you get lots of variety and you can pick and choose whenever you feel like it. I was especially excited a few months ago when they brought out an Inkhouse special. Those of you who follow me regularly will know I am doing the Inkhouse by Rory Dobner as a front to back project, all with Inktense pencils. So today, to kind of honour that but also to showcase a little bit from Colouring Heaven, we are going to be colouring a page in the Inkhouse special. I do have copies to give away, so stick around to the end if you fancy entering, and we can go to top down view now and we can get going. I could have quite easily coloured this image in the actual Inkhouse book, which I do own, and I know quite a few of you are a fan of me colouring in that. But I wanted to show you how good the paper is in these magazines. The paper is high quality and it behaves well with a lot of different supplies and brands as well. So these are absolutely worth it. And the lovely thing about it is, because they bring a new one out every month, it doesn't take long for something that you fancy or something you enjoy colouring to come around. In addition to that, the cover is also colourable as well, front and back. I'm a huge fan of these magazines. I don't have a subscription to it. I have enough subscriptions. But even if you don't want the risk of, getting magazines, if you're quite fussy about what you like to colour, you can go on to the website, the Colouring Heaven website, and they sell back issues. And you can go and pick them out and pick and choose basically after the issue has been released. So I've picked out a very special picture today. This is a picture that I have not coloured in my own copy, and it's this little dude here. This is Louis. Look at him. Look at that face. Look at that face. I dare you to not think that is cute. And we are going to be using Inktense pencils today, as is my tradition. So this is kind of like me getting a test run for the actual copy in my original book by Rory Dobner. I'm so excited for this little guy. Really am. So I want to start with the background. This is obviously the interior of a part of the Inkhouse, and this hatching means whatever colour that we put down, it's going to look quite dark. So what I suggest for this is a mid-tone, and we want to pick out something that's going to contrast with Pupper here. Now obviously he's black and tan, you can tell that by the grayscale. So because we're going to be using this sort of colour range for part of them, and then in these black areas we're actually going to work with some dark blue, and that's to help with the sheen on his coat. So we want something completely separate from that, and we can help ourselves along here with our colour wheel. And this is going to be very, very rough, very rough. But if we take a line across here, so this is like a triad colour scheme where we've sort of browny yellows on this side and blues on this side. So if we follow the line of this triangle down, it's kind of pointing us into pinky purples. So that's a colour we can use for the background that's going to fit in and is going to complement what's there as well. So that's just one theory that you can go with. I think a purple colour is a good idea. I do want it to be a reasonably light purple though. You can really dilute it out. If you only put one light layer of pencil down and dilute it out, it is going to be quite delicate. So that's going to work to our advantage in this situation. I've just got my usual selection of water brushes here. These are the Zig H2O water brushes. I really like them. I'm actually on my second one of the little one because it's been used that much. And the first one lasted like 3.5 years, so that's pretty good going. So that's just what we're going to use. Now in addition to this, I always like to have a little scrap of paper beside me just to wipe the excess colour off the brush, just in case I contaminate as I go along. So yeah, first of all what we're going to do is we're going to go for this deep violet colour. I think I could zoom in a wee bit more than that. Maybe right there. So yeah, this deep violet colour here, that's what we're after first of all. We want to just put a light layer of this down and we'll see how we get on. We can always go back over it. So I'm just putting the slightest tickle down. Now again, the combination of using a water brush and also using this light layer and the paper here will manage fine with this. Obviously the paper in these books isn't designed to be saturated with water. It is not watercolour paper. But it withstands a fair amount of pressure. I've used alcohol markers in these books and everything. I've done the whole shebang, the whole shooting match. So I'm confident. See, especially with a water brush, because the control you've got over the amount of water is considerable. In fact, I'm going to go over them because we can always put them back in with like a white Posca pen or something. Okay, so we're going to take our brush now. I'm just going to use a medium-sized brush here because we've got a few nooks and crannies, but nothing drastic. So we'll just activate that and see how it looks, and if it looks a bit too wishy-washy we can always go back over it. So quite subtle, quite delicate. I think we could probably do with another layer. So we'll leave that side to dry and we'll go on and do this side just now. I don't know if you can hear how stormy it is outside. It's more delightful weather. I'm aware that I'm pre-filming this, but I am filming this after the storm that left us without power. This is another storm. It's just another storm. This one's named as well. This is Storm Barra. So Storm Barra and I are having some time together, which I'm really excited about, honest. The lights did flicker earlier on. I actually said out loud, "Don't you dare." Just you stay on. But after that escapade, it's not really surprising that I'm slightly angry about things like that. So fingers crossed we get through this today and I don't lose the footage when I'm doing this. That would be really nice. I want to do the branches of the ivy here next. Now these are teeny tiny spaces and there's no point labouring over things like this. It is not worth worrying about. You can, if you want to start putting shading and things in, that is entirely up to you, but it's too small an area to be noticeable, so we just need to pick out a suitable colour. Probably something like the oak is good. It's pretty neutral, it's not very offensive, and it's not going to take over because obviously that part is not a feature of the picture. And for this as well, we want a really nice pointy point. I do find that the Derwent 2-hole sharpener, this little one I've got here, this works really well with the Inktense pencils. You can, normally I would use a Tagal, but I don't know why I seem to keep this sharpener for these pencils. Not a requirement, but it does work well. I'm just basically going to work my way around. This is not going to be very exciting at all. And this is one of these pencils, this oak pencil. It looks completely different dry to when it's activated with water. It's one of the bit more like exciting pencils. Well, about as exciting as a brown pencil can get, but I get excited about brown pencils. I'm just block colouring this, I'm not doing anything special, so just a medium pressure. And literally going to fill in all these little gaps. So I will not bore the pants off you with this. You might all fall asleep in your chair. But I'm literally just going to work my way around the picture in a semicircle. So I'll skip this through this part, I'll speed it up and I'll catch you back up when I'm done. Okay, I think I've got them all. While I was doing that, I was having a wee ponder, and it is in our interests to activate these with water, although the effect won't necessarily be seen. But what it will do is it will fix the ink to the paper, because once this dries, it's more or less permanent, like you're not going to shift it. If we don't activate this oak colour with water, when we start to colour some of our other areas and use water, it's going to pick this up and possibly muddy what we're doing. So we're actually going to do this as a fixative measure. And I've got my teeny tiniest water brush here for this little dinky nib here. And I'm just going to work my way around. Again, I'll speed this up because I'm literally just going over what I've just done. I think I've got all the branches. Don't quote me on that. I bet you when we're colouring other parts I find bits that I've missed. But same thing again, so I'll catch you up in a little minute. Okay, again, I think I've got everything. Don't quote me on that. Never entirely sure. So we're going to tackle the leaves next. Now the thing I like about this is there's a lot of shading and hatching on these leaves. So even if we just use one pencil and keep it nice and simple, which is what we've been doing up till now, we're going to get some really, really nice variation in this pattern. Now I'm going to use, listen to that wind. Getting a bit nervous now. I'm going to use beach green, which is this green here. It's quite a vibrant green, but it's also quite deep as well if you build up the colour. So that's going to give us a really nice effect as well. Now rather than just flat colouring all of these leaves, I'm going to use a little bit of layering in some parts and only one layer of pencil in other parts, and that's going to give us a really nice tone change when it comes to adding water. I've also picked out the felt green, which is this one here. And again, that's just to give us a bit more interest so that all the leaves aren't the same colours. So for example, this one down here, some of these ones that are tucked in behind, I can use the beach green there. And then on this really dark part, I'm going to put another layer of that pencil down. Now you don't actually have to colour the entire leaf, because when we activate it with water, naturally we will spread this out. So if you've got quite a generous layer of this pencil down, then it's actually, you know, you can push it out quite far. So you don't have to colour these all the way to the edge. And just the indications of where the hatching is would suggest that the edges are lighter anyway, such as the way with ivy leaves. So we're actually just doing what we should be doing. So I'm just picking these at random here. I don't want to start getting into light sources or anything. I just want to have some fun. But because this is a grayscale image, it's going to turn out fabulous anyway, it really is. So I'm not taking the pencil all the way to the edge. On this side there's quite a dense area here, so I'm going to pick out the ones that are in behind and use the beach green on that because it is a slightly darker colour. Like this one in here, look at that hiding away in there. That one's kind of in behind but kind of not. Look at these little ones peeking in here. And there's lots going on this side, my goodness. I'm trying to figure out if this is all the same leaf. I think it is. Not entirely sure. I have to give my pencil a little sharpen now. Okay, so I'm going to go back to a medium water brush this time. And I'm going to activate these and let them dry before I do the other ones because we've got some overlaps. So I'm starting in the middle and then working my way out. So you really want to start in the darkest part. And if you feel there's a wee bit too much going on, you can always wipe your water brush off and then go back to the edges, and that will give you a bit more of a delicate edge. You're not pulling all of the pigment. But in these spots here, these ones that are in behind, I really want that to be quite juicy. But with these, there you go. You can see I've done the middle part there. Just damping my brush again. We're talking really simple techniques here, but you can get some lovely effects with them. And that's what I love about grayscale, and that's what I love about Inktense as well. As little or as much effort as you would like to put in and you will get results. Notwithstanding staying inside the lines, obviously. But this is good. I just wanted to get a little pop of green in there. And this is just doing the job for us. It is doing a job. Oh. There we go, starting to get a little bit of colour in now. And I'm just going to repeat this process but with the felt green, which is quite a jolly colour. It's a little bit brighter. I'll just work my way around, doing exactly the same thing. Nothing complicated, nothing different. Got all these little itty bitty leaves to get though. Just making sure I haven't missed any down this side. Nope, I think we're good. See, on some of the leaves I am putting a second layer of pencil down, but just in certain spots, and it's just to give that variation and to give us plenty of ink to manoeuvre if that's what we want to do. If not, we can just leave it where it is. I'm getting increasingly nervous about how bad the weather is outside. The other thing that's making me nervous right now is I've missed a branch, dagnammit. The other thing that's making me nervous right now is Mr. Gem, but also Papa Gem, are out in the truck somewhere in this. That makes me very, very nervous, so I'm hoping that they're not going to be too much longer. I want them back in one piece and I want them to be able to get back, because as previously demonstrated by Storm Arwen, there is a possibility that that might not happen. I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. There's a line here, and the wood planks clearly go in behind it, but there's no texture or anything on it. I don't know whether that was maybe a leaf that we forgot to fill in. I'll make it a leaf, because it doesn't fit in with the background, so that's the only logical conclusion I can draw from that one. There we go. Good, I think. Again, I'll probably find one later on that I've missed. Usually the way of it. And again, my medium brush. And just bring these to life a little bit. So you can see the colour difference between those ones. Just makes it a touch more interesting, doesn't it? This is the really nice thing about Inktense. It's really fun just like watching this stuff pop out. Just like that tiny bit of water and it just goes pew. It's like a little umbrella opening with lots of colours on it. Okay, if I just zoom out a little bit, can you see the difference between the two sides? It just gives these leaves, like it almost gives them a bit of movement because we've used two different colours, and it just makes them look a lot more organic than rather flat, plain colour. And it's really not that difficult to do, you know, it's not as if we've had to do a lot to get this kind of effect. I'm now praying to the wind gods, because that's getting a bit scary. I don't know how much I was going to say the camera, no. I don't know how much the mic's picking up, but it's pretty goddamn windy. And it's like halfway between sleet and snow. Good proper winter weather, which just makes me want to be cosy all the more. And that the green standing out really nicely against this purple. That's the next thing I'm going to do. I'm going to go back and put another layer of what colour was it? Deep violet or deep purple? I can't remember what it's called. Deep violet. Violet. We shall put another layer of deep violet down. I might even go for a slightly darker shade. Yeah, let's pick out the violet. The actual violet. And see, just in these top corners here where the hatching's a bit heavier. Let's pop a wee bit of that down. And what we'll do is we will blend this in. So I'll just stick a little bit, not too much now, just in those corners, because that's really going to pop when we put water on it. But if I just blend this in with a little bit of this. Now there's a wee bit of extra hatching down in this corner too, in here. We'll maybe put a little bit of that in there too. And again, I'll just grab this medium water brush. Always assume that I'm using the medium brush unless I say otherwise, just in case I forget to say something. But there we go, and we can pull this darker violet colour out a little bit here, just as we're working our way down round Louie's ears. I feel like there should be a little bit more violet in there, but I'll leave it just now. Okay, let's move on. Now again, I'm going to leave the frame just now. When I say the frame, I don't mean the window frame, I mean the frame around the outside, because I'm not quite sure what colours I want to do that yet. But what we do have to decide on is what colour this background plank is going to be. And for some reason, obviously we know that the Inkhouse is kind of like ramshackle, it's a little bit run down. So I'm thinking that, you know, like it's like shiplap kind of idea that's been painted white and it's kind of gone a bit yellow over time, you know, yellow with age. That's my kind of feeling towards that. So I'm going to pick out the Sherbet Lemon, which is a cool pale yellow. This one here. It looks really, really bright and offensive on the camera. It's really not that bad. It's just the light balance in the camera kind of screwing it up a little bit. So let's grab that. Now I have to discern the window frame from these panels here. And this looks surprisingly like the edge of the window frame here, but there are no planks in this section. Not really sure what to do about that. But I think we'll just start in this section here. And I just want the tiniest hint of this colour. And again, the side, that looks like the edge of the window frame there. So just a tickle of this. Again, I don't want to be filling in entire areas with this because that's not really what this is all about. So I'm just kind of going a plank at a time, and just getting that little bit of colour in. Now, what's going on in behind here, I'm not entirely sure. But we'll put some of that in just now in those darker areas. And there's the edge of the design there, because this is our circle that's come round here. And again, if we find the edge of the window frame, which it's kind of, ooh, that looks like it there. We don't have consistent lines here. I feel like that's the edge of the window there, like that's the edge of the frame on this side, but it doesn't match up with the other side. So, yeah, open to interpretation, let's say. And we can just run this all the way over the top. Again, as long as you're not scrubbing away at it, you can go over what you've done and it's not going to pick up the colours that we've already done because we've already activated them. If you were to rub away at it, yes, you would pick up some colour, absolutely, definitely. But if you're just flicking over like this, you're not going to have any issues at all. There we go. So we've got a nice little pop of colour in the background there, and it perfectly complements the purple as well. So when it comes to the window frames, this is always, to the window panes, this is always a source of debate. Some people say that they should be able to see through them and that it should be the colour of what's in behind, and some people disagree entirely. I like to keep them white but just have a sort of like a hint of something across them to indicate that, you know, that it is glass. You see these little lines, that is very deliberate hatching to show that it is a pane of glass. So what we want to do really is pick something really pale, and I'm looking at it in pencil form here, like this iris blue. If we use a really, really light coat of that and don't activate it, that's going to give us the kind of thing that we're looking for. Before we do that though, I want to grab a grey colour, and again this is for the actual window frame and it's just to make it look a little bit more weathered. There is a neutral grey here. If I just bring this back, this piece of tracing paper isn't for the Inktense, it's for the what's on the back of it, so please excuse that. But yeah, if we take this neutral grey, again, if we use this really delicately, really like just tickle the paper with it, then we'll get a nice effect. So I'll start off up here and I'll show you what I mean. So I'm just picking a little section and I'm just going to do that. That's all. And I want my little water brush for this, so my yellow one. Weeny, weeny one. And if I just gently sweep back and forth over that, can you see what I've done there? It's so subtle, but it gives it that really sort of knackered look. Oh, goodness me. Ever the technical descriptions. So I'm just going to continue that on. Now the likes of here, this is obviously a mark that's been left deliberately, so that's where I'm going to take that pencil line. And then I'm just going to bring it over to about there. And this is really the water brushes doing all the work. So if I just take a couple of sweeps at that there, and then we'll do the same here. Make sure my brush is clean in between each little section. So like absolute minimum, the least amount of pencil that you could actually put on the paper. That's kind of what you're aiming for with this. And when it comes to this part here, you can put a bit more in because that's a shadow area. So very subtle, but definitely there. Now when we're thinking about the window pane in behind, it's going to be a little bit darker. And you can see there's little hatching lines. So I'm going to cover the whole area there, but very, very lightly. So still tickling it, but I've actually put pencil over that whole section. And again, this is just a case of working your way round. I just like to do it section by section. You know, especially when it's something geometric like this. Makes me feel better. I don't know why. I don't know why. Okay, guys, I don't know. Now, this is a pane of glass, so we don't want to colour that part. But we do want to do this part here. And again, this part in here. Okay, with the iris pencil that I talked about earlier, following Rory's lines here. Literally just like that. And the same here. Do we sweep here? Oh my goodness. Yeah, you guys can hear that. So these little parts on the frontmost pane, doing with the iris blue. Then after that, for the ones in the back, I'll make that flatter and a lot more even because they are not broken. But I also want them to be a lot less obvious, a lot less vibrant. And for that, I'm going to use the navy blue because it's a bit darker. So nice even pressure. Again, I'm not going to activate this with water. This is away in the background. So you want to get nice even coverage, just as if you were using normal coloured pencils. There's a tiny cheeky wee bit of ivy poking out in there, how dare you. So nice light pressure, working in a little circular motion, and that's just to get a nice even layer of colour down. And it's not imperative because you've got all this hatch in here anyway, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect because it's kind of interrupted by Rory's lines that he's left here. But it's good practice anyway. And then we just move down here. So with the neutral grey pencil that I've used already, I'm just going to do the same with the actual window frame as I've done with the panes. And it'll be a little bit darker in where these leaves are overlapping, so I'm putting a little bit more pencil down there. And then a little bit less everywhere else. Sticking with my small brush, a little bit darker in there. I'll flick a couple of lines up there. And obviously where is I was going to say his little paw, it looks like he's got really big paws. I'll put a little bit more under, you know, emphasise that a little bit. And then this slightly funky psychedelic side here, we'll, yeah. Oh, accidentally yellowed that bit. Yeah. There we go, maybe pick that out a bit more. Alright, I'm quite satisfied with that. For round the outside, I think we want to pick out some of the colours that we've used already. So I'm thinking a ring of violet round this side. Now let's have a highlight, let's make this a bit more interesting. So we're going to do one layer of pencil on this inside ring, and I'm going to stop it about there. Now see, that line has completely disappeared round here. That kind of annoys me a little bit. I know it's in between all these leaves and everything down here, but we still want it. I can see the edge of it there, so I'm just going to try and marry this up as best I can. Oh, it just disappears completely in there. I don't know what's going on there. Here it's resurfacing here. Maybe, again, I can trace it back perhaps. I'm going to bring this up and round. And then when I get to here, I'm just going to kind of stop. So I've left this gap here. Then what I'm going to do is, assuming the normal laws of how light sources work, our darkest area would be on this bottom left hand side. So I'm going to put another layer down just in these little sections here, wherever I can pick them out, wherever I can find them. Because this again is under foliage anyway, so it's probably going to be quite dark. And then as we come up here, we start to lighten it up. So I'm still putting a second layer down, but I'm not putting nearly as much pressure on it. And then I'll do a bit more around here as well, bottom. And still a second layer, but a light second layer. And then as we come up round here, just going to let that sort of tail off. So let's get that down. And we want to start with the pale areas here. So I'm going to start about an inch in from where I haven't put anything down at all. And I'm just going to drag that very gently from both sides into the middle. And then after that, I can start working in sections. Get all the fiddly bits in there. Just going to wipe my brush off so I'm not carrying the excess around with me. And then I'm going to start up at this light part again. And I'm just going to start graduating that in. Like that. Oh, gone over the lines, oh no. While that's drying, we're going to start tackling Louis himself, the fun part. And his cap is going to be the brightest red you have ever seen. And this is how we're going to make him pop. So I'm going to pick out Poppy Red and Shiraz. This is going to be our shadow colour. So we can see the light sources coming here because this is the part where... Oh, that's sticky. I forget, this is a new pencil. I actually used up my Poppy Red. That was my first Inktense pencil to leave us, which I find really interesting actually because... Normally it's greens with me, but this time it was a red. I was quite impressed. Here you go. And then this back area here, this is going to be a lot darker, but we'll use the Shiraz to help that along. Let's get a good bit of pencil down here. And grab the Shiraz now. I'm going to have to turn this because that purple round the edge is still wet. I'm going to have to go this way. I'm sorry. So yeah, we're thinking about shadows here. So there's a little bit of a crease there. So I'm going to pop some of the Shiraz in there. And I'm just going to work it into the most heavily cross-hatch areas, you know, where the hatching is really, really tight together. And then we can stick a little bit in this corner and maybe along this ridge of his hat a little bit. So far, so good. And then all I want to do is just add another layer of the Poppy Red on top of that because I do want this to be really, really intense. He's got this little stitching on his cap as well. How cute is he? When I get back to this highlighted area, I'm not avoiding it, but I'm kind of like dancing around it a little bit because we do want the highlight to be quite obvious. Okay, so here's the fun part. Medium sized brush, in fact no, small brush. Again, turn this round, sorry guys. And start in your lightest area. So I'm starting in here. And we do have to work fairly quickly, but look how bright that is, and that's our lightest area. And as we work across here, just a section at a time, look how freaking amazing that colour is. And then we've got this bit of Shiraz down the bottom here. And I'll just work up this little seam of his hat while we're here. This is how we're going to make him pop out. So leave that to dry, and while that's drying I can tackle the underside of his hat. So again, kind of thinking about this is a curve, but it's the other way around. So our palest part is here, and this is the lovely thing about doing grayscale, is normally the artist gives you an indication if it isn't a part that's actually fully shaded. They usually do leave you some hatching or something, and you soon figure out where things are supposed to go. It's like signposting, like if you get a helping hand to show where the shading should be. And that's what I love, absolutely love about grayscale. Okay, so that's a little layer of the poppy, so we're going to grab the Shiraz now, and as you would imagine, in this bottom left-hand corner, that's where the hatching is heaviest, so that's where we want to put our Shiraz down. As we come up into this area here where it gets lighter, we're still putting pencil down there, but very, very light pressure. And then as we did back here again, I'm just going to add some more of the poppy in this middle part. So I'm blending it in with the Shiraz. And I know it's not the easiest to see because of the hatching. And then as I come round here, and this is our lightest part here, so a little bit more pencil. And then we can do the same thing again, starting in this light area here. He's so freaking adorable, this little guy. And I always take off the excess as I go along because especially with red, it is naturally a really ridiculously offensively bright colour. So you have a lot of extra pigment there. And then back in here. I'm assuming this is supposed to be a tan patch here and it's not a highlight. So now the interesting thing on this paw is that there's a few little wrinkles of fur. There's just extra lines. So that's the areas where I'm just going to add a little bit more pencil there. See this part here, I think this is supposed to be a tan part. Just that one little section. Okay, so we'll jump back up to his hat now and we'll just finish off this top part of the brim. And this is going to be fairly light by the looks of things. Again, we have no hatching there. So if I just put a tiny layer of the poppy red that we were using before, very, very light layer. We've got some really nice contrast in his hat, but it looks amazing because it's really, really bright. Okay, I'm going to move on to the outer ring now, and I'm just going to use a neutral grey. I don't want to introduce any more colours. Again, quite a scrappy layer. This is the same technique as before, just a slightly bigger area. And we want our water brush to do most of the work, not the pencil. So don't fret too much if this isn't even. Especially as well, you're going to be in at the crease of the book and it can be very difficult to get an even pencil line down. Even if you're using really soft pencils. Not always the easiest thing, but see, we've got the advantage here that we're going to be adding water, so it's okay. Okay, so I'm going to use a bigger brush this time because we're working in a bigger area. And I'm just going to start, and basically just taking out the pencil strokes here, that's all I'm trying to do, which is pretty easy to be fair. A nice soft grey area here. Down in this bottom section, I'm not quite as worried about getting things right because part of the circle is missing there, so we're just gauging it as best we can. Back we go to our little friend now, so we're going to do some more on his tan patches, and this time we're going to look at his face. So he's got his little tan eyebrows. Oh, they're so cute. They're so freaking cute. And he looks as if he's got quite a bit of tan around his face and almost down his neck there as well. So we'll stick to his face first. And then he's got this bit under his chin as well. Oh, wow. I'm just adding my second layer now and I'm concentrating on the areas where there's more hatching. I'm just going to flick that up into the darker area. So again, starting with the lightest areas. This little bit on top of his nose. Oh, he's so cute. And then where I've added more pencil, I can start to work those into the lighter areas. So you're actually getting a wee bit of texture in. I'm going to let that dry a bit as well. And we're going to go back over it. We're going to do exactly the same thing. Now his eyes, he's going to have chocolate brown eyes. That goes without saying. So the problem is we don't have a chocolate brown pencil. The closest thing we've got is probably, ironically, it's called Bark. Get it? Bark. Well, no, I do have a dark chocolate. It's not my idea of dark though. It's quite reddish. I'm actually going to go with sepia ink. Again, show you here. Sepia ink is this colour up the top here. And we're going to pop that in there. Just a little bit. Oh, he's so freaking cute. And use the small water brush. Now while that's drying, I'm going to take a black pencil. Now there's 3 or 4 in this set. The one I have is Chinese ink. It's just black. Especially when you don't activate it, because we're not going to activate it. It just looks like a black pencil. I want to start working in the areas where his fur is, because I feel it's a little bit pale for what we want here. So all I'm doing is intensifying the dark areas and just making them a little bit darker. So play it safe. I'm sticking around the outside here because there's a highlight in this middle area, but I'm just cutting the highlight down a little bit. Can you see the difference, and can you see how much more it's popping out? So again, in round his head here, and these areas with his ear. So his ear seems to match up with this side of his body a little bit better now. And the same down here as well. Just want to cut down that highlight a little bit, because I feel he looks a bit more grey than black, to be honest, at this point. And he's clearly a puppy. He's got little puppy features. So we want him to be. Unless he's like a I don't know what they actually call it on Dachshunds, but like a tricolour or like maybe a brindle. You get kind of like spotty ones, don't you? And I feel that there wouldn't be any highlight in there. I'm just going to cut that out altogether. Just do a little bit of work on his ear. Now we're not activating this, we're not doing anything with it. We are just going to leave it as is. Puppy ears are the best. That's better. And this part under his hat as well. This should be really dark under here, especially in this middle area here. Right up at the top. Now before I start careering in with the black pencil around his features, I want to go over his tan parts in his face again. Just round these parts. And then once we've activated this, any other details we want to add in, we'll just do it with the pencil dry. He is so cute. I think that this bit under here, see this bit under his chin? I do think that that's going to be a tan part. I'm going to make it a tan part. Just that one little patch though. Okay, going back up to his face now, again, just as I was doing before, I'm just going to intensify some of these darker patches and kind of tone down the highlights a little bit. He looks as if he's got white eyeliner there. There we go. I feel that's a bit more, it ties in a bit better with what we've got going on with the rest of them, like down here and everything. Definitely happy with that. Okay, just back with this willow pencil again, and I want to add in these little creases here. And I'm just doing this in pencil. I'm not going to activate anything else now because there's quite a lot of water down here. Okay, while I'm waiting for that to dry, I am going to go around the outside here, and I am going to use the yellow. The yellow? Yes, the yellow. Like, where have I put my yellow? I have bled over the lines a little bit with the purple in a few places, but I'm kind of okay with it. I'm basically just filling in these gaps now. I don't really want this border to take away from little Louis here. He's the star of the show. So I figured the yellow's fine. And I'm not even going to activate that with water. And there we go, our little friend Louis is finished. So if we just take a little zoom out now. He's turned out really well. You can see with my choice of colours, it's helped to make him stand out, even though that he's black and tan. Because we've used contrasting colours round about and giving him a red hat, it's really made him pop off the page. But that's just to show you how easy it is, number one, to use Inktense pencils, and number two, to do grayscale colouring. It is really, really simple and straightforward, and it's the best fun you can have, and you can get results quickly even if you don't want to spend ages blending and layering and all that kind of stuff. So I really hope you've enjoyed this today. I've had a great time, I always do, with Inktense and Rory Dobner. It's like a best combination for me. And I hope this is keeping your festive cheer up. So now it's time to get on to the good bit, and that's to talk about the giveaway. So for this giveaway, I have 2 copies of this Inkhouse Storybook Special. One is, of course, the one that we've just coloured in, and I also have an extra one which is blank as well. And I am giving them both away. As per the rest of the giveaways, it is a worldwide giveaway, so it doesn't matter where you are, I will get it to you. And if you would like to enter to win a copy of this, all you have to do is go down into the comments and tell me what you would like to see in an issue of Colouring Heaven magazine. What would be your ideal artist? Names will be drawn out of a hat, and the first name out of the hat will get the copy that I have coloured in. I will sign it at the bottom, and you will have a little slice of the cave in your life. The second name drawn out of the hat will get the uncoloured copy. Best of luck for those of you who want to enter. As with all the giveaways as well, please read the terms and conditions, which is down in the description. It's important that you follow those steps as well before entering. And that's it for today. I want to thank you once again very much for joining me for Cavemas, and I will see you back in the cave tomorrow for another video. So enjoy the rest of your day, everyone, and bye for now.